With Amex Gold, you can experience the gold standard. You get access to exceptional dining, plus 4 times membership rewards points on eligible dining purchases. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Cap applies. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
What's new from Apple? There's the new iPhone 16 Pro, built for Apple Intelligence. And it comes with the all-new camera control, giving you an easier way to quickly access your camera tools. The new Apple Watch Series 10 has our biggest display and our thinnest design ever. And this? It's the sound of active noise cancellation, now available on one of 2 new AirPods 4 models. So quiet. Check out all of the new products and new features at apple.com. You can even buy yourself something new. See apple.com for product availability updates. Apple Intelligence coming this fall.
Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
Welcome to My Weekly Mixtape, a podcast that takes the classic mixtape approach to building a modern playlist. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. Joining me tonight as guest curator is Tony G from the Podioslave podcast, somebody you might remember from the Playlist Wars days. Tony, great to have you on My Weekly Mixtape finally, man.
I know, man. I've been, watching from a little bit of a distance what you've been able to accomplish with the My Weekly Mixtape, so I'm pretty excited to finally be here.
Excited to have you, and I'd like to start by asking you the first-timers question, which is, Tony, what does the word mixtape mean to you?
So the first thing that pops into my head is being 10 or 11 years old in my bedroom with my CD player tape deck and recording songs on a tape from the radio. So our local radio station was big. They just kind of come out, the alternative rock radio station in our town. And I just would try to time it up to get a Green Day song or time it up to get a Soundgarden song and make these mixtapes that way. And obviously graduated to CDs and giving them to friends and still listen to them today in the playlist fashion, but it's not the same.
Well, tonight we are talking about a band that's a big piece of the Podioslave universe, and that is Rage Against the Machine, with our guilty parties, Zach De La Rocha on vocals, Tom Morello on guitar, Brad Wilk on drums, and Tim Comerford, otherwise known as Timmy C, Tim Bob, Y Tim K, or Tim.com, depending on which album liner notes you're reading on bass. Tonight, our playlist is only going to be 10 songs, womp womp. But at the end of the day, the band only has 4 albums, one of which is all cover songs, with a total of 45 songs on those original releases. And then you could tack on a few more if you want to include B-sides, soundtrack cuts, and live tracks. I wanted to make it a little harder on us, so 10 songs it is. As I have a definitive Rage Against the Machine album, which is their self-titled, and as much as I love Evil Empire, The Battle of Los Angeles, and Renegades, depending on where we go, Tony, I might be leaning heavily towards that self-titled album. And I know you've said that Evil Empire is your favorite album from them. So how are you approaching this playlist tonight?
So yeah, I think Evil Empire, and it's because of when you get into them, right? It's always the case with music and what kind of happens there. But Evil Empire is the record that Anthony and I, my co-host, bonded over growing up in South Portland, Maine. It was like, it felt illegal to have that as an 11-year-old, but it was amazing. So I've spent a ton of time with all 4 really, but that one is the one that it kind of turned the switch for me, and that's why I may lean towards that one as far as my favorite of the 4. But it's hard to deny self-titled. It's hard to deny Battle of LA. And we did a whole episode on Renegades and how they made all of those cover songs their own. So they're just a phenomenal band, top to bottom.
Well, let's get down to business. Tonight, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Tony and I will be curating the ultimate Rage Against the Machine mixtape. Tony, as my special guest, will begin with his first song choice, and then I'll add a song that I feel best follows up that choice. We'll then flip-flop choosing songs until we've mapped out our 10-song list, with the overall goal for the episode being to craft the best Rage Against the Machine mixtape possible through those 10 songs. At the end of the show, you can take our conversation to the next level by visiting the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com to give our final mixtape a listen via the embedded playlist. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. There you can enjoy ad-free episodes of the show, become a future guest, and so much more. And a few of the Patreon mixtapers chimed in with the songs they would use to kick off our Rage Against the Machine mixtape, and here's what they had to say. Chad Lamassa chimed in saying, let's kick things off with their cover of Renegades of Funk. Ben from the Too Vague podcast chimed in saying he was going to start with their cover of Cypress Hill's How I Can Just Kill a Man from Renegades, but he thinks it works better as a mid or transitional track. So instead, he's starting off what he thinks is their strongest album opener across their catalog, which is Testify from the Battle of Los Angeles. Philip Bergman agrees with Ben, saying it's got to be Testify to start, but then at the end, you want to end it with Know Your Enemy, just so we can end the tape with Zach repeatedly screaming, all of which are American Dreams.
Yep.
Tom Hutchinson chimed in saying Killing in the Name of 100%. Seeker chimed in with their cover of Maggie's Farm, saying that they amped that one up to 11. And Jen Fink chimed in saying their cover of The Ghost of Tom Joad, rolling into Testify to start, and then ending it with Killing in the Name or Freedom, saying that Rage is one of her favorite bands of all time. Well, Jen, I hope we do this one justice. And just as a reminder, if you want to chime in for future episodes of My Weekly Mixtape, you could join the Mixtaper family at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape.
Hey there, busy parents. Christian Swain here, the rock and roll archaeologist. I know just how stressful family dinners can be, from planning and shopping to actually getting everyone to enjoy what you made. But I've got some good news for you. HelloFresh totally gets it too. They're making dinner easier and more enjoyable with fresh ingredients and recipes that even picky eaters love, delivered right to your door each week. I've been using HelloFresh for a while now, and let me tell you, their new Build-A-Plate meals are a game changer. Imagine not having to make multiple dinners to satisfy everyone's tastes. And with so many options, each member of my family gets to build their perfect plate from just one meal. No more, I don't want this at the dinner table, just happy faces and clean plates. Plus, with HelloFresh, I don't have to worry about meal planning or grocery store runs. Their easy-to-follow recipes with pre-portioned ingredients save me so much time, especially now that school's back in session. And here's the best part. Right now, kids eat free. Go to HelloFresh.com/PantheonKids to unlock this exclusive offer. That's one free kids meal per box for 2 months while your subscription is active. So, what are you waiting for? Head to HelloFresh.com/PantheonKids. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you ever thought about something new you'd love to learn? As adults, it's easy to get caught up in the daily grind, and sometimes we forget to make time for new experiences. Remember when we were kids and learning was part of everyday life? Now it feels like we're always in work mode. But what if we could tap into that curiosity again? Whether it's learning how to garden, picking up a new language, or finally beating your friend in your fantasy football league, there's so much out there to explore. Therapy can help you reconnect with that childlike sense of wonder. I know for me, therapy has been a great way to learn about myself, set healthy boundaries, and develop positive habits. It's not just for times of crisis. It's about growing and becoming the best version of yourself. I know I am more in tune with both my positive self, which I highlight, and my negative self, which I'm working to minimize since I began working with my BetterHelp therapist. If you've been thinking about starting therapy, BetterHelp is a great option. It's fully online, so it's convenient, and it fits around your schedule. You'll fill out a quick questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch at any time with no extra charge.
Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Pantheon today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/Pantheon.
So, Tony, with all those choices out in the atmosphere, I'm officially pressing the record button on our mixtape, and the floor is yours. Why don't you dive into the song you chose to kick off Side A?
So all of those are great choices, and it has me doing a double take, but I'm going to stick with the one that my gut tells me, Bulls on Parade. And I have to go with Bulls on Parade. It's my favorite Rage song. It's the song that introduced me to the band as a 10-year-old. It's the reason I picked up Evil Empire. It's the reason my cousin and I were poring over, the liner notes that summer. It just had a birthday, I think, around the time we're recording this. It's such a great record. That song, it's the second song on the record, but it kicks off my fandom to them, so I have to kick off the mixtape with Bulls on Parade. It's a perfect song.
I will agree. It's an absolutely perfect song. The riff is everything you love about Rage Against the Machine. It's got the heft, it's got the might, and it's got that Tom Morello stamp that just speaks to what Rage Against the Machine is. And I love where you're going with the song that kind of led you into the band. And I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it from my bass player brain.
I like that.
And I'm going to go with the opening track because I'm an album opening fan. And I'm going to go with a career opening track. And we're going to go self-titled. And we're going to go with that amazing bass and guitar simultaneous opening, walking our way into Bomb Track. It's a 1-2 punch like no other because you've got the immediate heft of Bulls on Parade and then that little intro to Bomb Track to kind of give people just a second to catch their breath before it explodes. What an amazing album opener that just introduces you to what to expect with Rage Against the Machine, because Bomb Track tells you the story that Rage Against the Machine tells across the 4 albums. And I feel like it's a perfect way to follow up Bulls on Parade.
Hell yeah. No, I completely agree. Bomb Track is so good. We did an episode earlier this year on Offspring Smash, tangent just a second, and I found a way to put in every song from the self-titled Rage record throughout our conversation without my co-host knowing. So I am all in on the first record. As much as I love Evil Empire and ride for that to be my favorite. The first one's great, and Bomb Track is no exception. Great pick.
So what are you going to follow up Bulls on Parade and Bomb Track with?
All right. I think I'm going to stick with self-titled, and I'm going to go with Wake Up.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, we're going to keep the energy high here. And that kind of noodly bass riff to start. It's the only time you get a breath is the beginning of that song. And then they just kind of come at you for 6 minutes. And I remember obviously seeing this at the end of The Matrix, the first Matrix movie. And at 15 years old being like, all right, I guess I need to go back and listen to self-titled a little more because that's where that came from. That's where I know the band, obviously, but I'm now, let's dig into the old stuff and figure some stuff out here. Wake Up. It's just the last minute is chaotic. It's everything you love about Rage Against the Machine. It gives you all of what they are. You get the great rhythm section. You get the kind of craziness from Morello, and then De La Roca's on the next level there with that with his lyricism in that song. So yeah, Wake Up. That's my next one.
Obviously, it's from the self-titled. I got nothing but love for that album, so love the pick. I'm kind of kicking myself because you had mentioned the movie connection to The Matrix. Bomb Track was prominently featured in Natural Born Killers. And I remember seeing that on the big screen. And that was another moment where I'm like, man, these guys this song just brings it. Sticking with the self-titled album, 2 tracks in a row there I love. So I'm going to pivot away. I was thinking about going with another self-titled, but then I feel like we're not showing love to the rest of the catalog. So I'm going to jump to the other end of the spectrum in a way, but also not in a way, which I know sounds like I'm kind of cheating here, but I'm going to go with one of the songs featured on Renegades. However, it wasn't recorded for Renegades. It was recorded and produced by Brendan O'Brien and released as a free single along with their 1997 home video release. And I'm going to go with their cover of Bruce Springsteen's The Ghost of Tom Joad. What I love about cover songs is when you take a song and you rearrange it and you make it your own. And Rage Against the Machine took a song that's written in 3/4 time by Bruce Springsteen and turned it into a 4/4 rocker, where if you played the two songs back to back, you might not even connect the fact that you just heard the same exact song twice. And I'd be lying if I didn't think that this cover played at least a small part in Tom Morello joining with the E Street Band and being a part of the High Hopes album. I feel like this was the seed that got planted. But this song reached number 35 on the Billboard Mainstream Rock Tracks chart and number 34 on the Modern Rock Tracks chart without an album at the time. And that is amazing. It was their second charting single after Bulls on Parade. So nothing from the self-titled album charted. It was Bulls on Parade and then The Ghost of Tom Joad. So I feel like the song also has a bit of significance in their story across all the albums.
That's a great call. And I think that song single-handedly, I mean, my dad was a fan of The Boss too, but single-handedly made me pay attention at that time to Bruce. And again, go back and listen to stuff and find new things like, oh, that's a Bruce cover? Like, I didn't know that. It's just cool. Like, I had no idea. And I also didn't know it was their second charting song after Bulls on Parade. That surprises me a little bit. Thought they would have had some other stuff. But that whole record, Renegades, they take so many songs and make them their own, as good as those songs were to begin with. They take songs like Beautiful World from Devo, it's just completely different sounding and different vibe. And this one, Ghost of Tom Joad, it's just so good. They found a way to make all of those songs there. So this is a great pick from that record and maybe my favorite one on there because of what it meant to me as a music fan.
Awesome.
All right, I got to follow that up now, don't I?
Yeah. And The Ghost of Tom Joad, let's just be honest here. It's the closest thing to and I'm going to mark air quotes here, as the Rage Against the Machine power ballad. It's probably the slowest thing they did groove-wise, and even Zach's rapping with the reverb and delay on his voice, he's not really screaming, he's not really rapping. So this is kind of the point of a Rage show where I guess you're putting your lighters and your cell phones up in the air.
Yep. All right, and we're going to go off record, the thin line between entertainment and war. The front line is everywhere. No Shelter off the Godzilla soundtrack, which is maybe a top 3 Rage song for me. Just its vibe, where it came from, how they Zach goes at mainstream media and like entertainment stuff on a soundtrack to a movie that is designed to get people to go sit and watch. So I loved it. I love everything about it. Listening to it on my way home tonight, it's still a vibe. That song absolutely rules. You get the best of all of them again. I think Zach is the best. He's at the forefront in this song with his lyrics. No Shelter from the Godzilla soundtrack, which, I forget, 96, 97, somewhere around there, right?
No Shelter came out in 98 on the Godzilla soundtrack. Yeah, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it. The Godzilla soundtrack was better than Godzilla the movie.
Oh, yeah.
There was just a lot of greats. I mean, No Shelter was the song for me, but as a whole, the soundtrack kind of dwarfed the movie. And once again, overseas wins because the Japanese release of the Battle of Los Angeles had No Shelter on it. Why they didn't include No Shelter on the Battle of Los Angeles will always be weird to me, because musically I feel like it would have easily fit with that album's vibe. And yeah, the bonus version from Japan gets it right, I guess. But all right, coming out of that, I got to go back to the self-titled again here. And I'm going to go with something that brings some guests into the fold. It doesn't happen often, but when you bring Maynard James Keenan of Tool and Jane's Addiction Stephen Perkins onto a song just for a little additional percussion, you get the masterpiece that Philip chimed in saying we should close with it. I'm kind of going mid-set here, track 6 to kind of kick off the second half, all of which are American Dreams. Know Your Enemy. To me, this is a quintessential Rage riff. And this is one of those songs that really embraces the breakdown. And I love the fact that the breakdown almost has a Tool atmosphere to it. Don't get me wrong, they're not going prog. But I don't know if I could hear Zach doing anything over that midsection that elevates the song more than what Maynard did in that part. It was a part of the Rage Against the Machine album that required singing and required something a little bit more melodic vocally. And I don't know if that is kind of Zach's range, but for Maynard, it's right up his alley. And I think Maynard knocked it out of the park. And I think, believe it or not, it elevated both bands because they were both on that Lollapalooza at that time, making a name for themselves. And I feel like this collaboration, again, like the Ghost of Tom Joad cover, is an important piece of the Rage Against the Machine history.
That's a great pick. And the one that I had on my list that I definitely wanted to throw out there. So I'm glad that it's on the list. From the Maynard feature to, the overall vibe of the song and the lyrics behind a lot of what Zach writes about and what they all kind of embody is it still fits today, 30 years out. And we don't have to get too political on this, but listen to the lyrics, read the lyrics, you'll get it. And I love the Maynard feature, and you're right, it needed to be him. So yeah, that's a good call. All right, I gotta follow that one up now, don't I?
No pressure.
No pressure, none at all.
No shelter, no pressure.
Let's go off the Battle of LA. Haven't done one from that yet, and I'm gonna pick. There's so many great songs in the Battle of LA. I'm going off the board a little bit, and I'm going to go Ashes in the Fall.
Ooh.
Yeah, I really love that riff. It's very it's not simple because nothing's simple with Morello, but if he later on in the song, that beginning kind of chalkboardy riff that he does, and he does it in Year of the Boomerang on Evil Empire as well, but you get a little of that kind of scratchy sound from his guitar, and then later on in the song, he is doing it again, but just doing it kind of straight. And you're like, oh, this is awesome. Like, this now actually really rips. And I didn't see it going from this chalkboardy, scratchy version of the riff at the beginning to they're all just kind of slamming it at you at the end. So Ashes in the Fall, one of my favorite Rage songs from the Battle of L.A.
And I'm going to go as far as to say our deepest cut of the night so far. So bravo, because when I make a mixtape, I always like to throw a song that might not be one of the radio hits, might not be one of the ones that is played in every single show. And the penultimate track on the Battle of LA, right before we close out for War Within a Breath, man, what a great pick. I love what you did with that.
Had to pick one off that record. That record's, I think it's underrated at this point.
I would agree, but then again, when there's only 4 albums to deal with, kind of the catalog as a whole, I feel like is on a pedestal in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so we've got all the albums represented by at least one song, so now I don't feel guilty, and I'm going to go back to the self-titled because, again, we're talking about important tracks, and I feel like you can't talk about Rage Against the Machine without Killing in the Name, and just, I mean, from the beginnings in the 90s with that song, taking it into the 2009 UK #1 campaign. This is the kind of song that crossed decades for this band. They already had done tours in 2007 and 2008, but it was the moment where there was the whole X Factor and Killing in the Name competition in the UK, where the voters got Killing in the Name to #1 in the UK, that I think might have been a catalyst for the continued 2009-2010 tours, because it really revitalized Rage Against the Machine overseas again, while also, again, keeping that song relevant when it was well close to its 20th year of existence at that point. And again, just in terms of the band's history, we have to focus on the fact that this was their lead single. This was their introduction outside of Bomb Track being the album introduction. This is what they came to the table with. And it's such a moment in music. I remember seeing the crowds in Lollapalooza during the I Won't Do What You Tell Me close. And it was insanity. They literally took people over with that song, and they take people over with that song. And I don't think there's ever been a Rage Against the Machine show that didn't have it in some facet, and I just can't see not including it here.
great choice. Obviously, one of their probably biggest song, you're a career-spanning song. Everybody kind of knows this song. You may not even know that it's Rage Against the Machine, but people know the song and know the ending of this song, no matter really what, if you paid attention to music over the last 30 years. And I love that it was a single. I love that it was on the radio, even though they had to cut it. But yeah, great track and great pick there.
Yeah, I love when they were on the BBC and they were told you cannot curse. And for the whole first half, he just goes, Q, I won't do what you tell me. Q, I won't do what you tell me. And when they kick in and he just starts cursing and they have to break out of the song, that you don't get more Rage Against the Machine than that.
So good. So good. Yep.
All right, we each have one pick left. This is where it gets hard because there are dozens of amazing songs that people are probably screaming at us right now. Where the hell is blank?
There's so many of those.
Yeah, so we'll be able to quell at least two of those screams with two more choices, one from you and one from me. What do you got?
All right, I'm going Evil Empire. I'm going People of the Sun.
Yes!
Great riff to open a record that was very anticipated at the time, obviously coming off self-titled and how big that was for them. And to just throw this kind of boomerangy type riff at you. They have a song later on that called You're the Boomerang, but not like that. It's so good. It's such a Morello thing to do. And then, yeah, people come up and then boom, right into what they do. And it's a great way to kick off an album and one of my favorite albums of all time. So People of the Sun is my last choice here tonight.
That opening scratchy guitar that he's doing with the pick, it almost sounds like a turntable. And I love the fact that on their albums, they actually have to put a disclaimer that all the sounds created are that of the band. And that's a testament to Tom's style of playing. It's so unique. It's definitely, from our generation in the 90s, probably the most unique style of playing, where if he started playing a riff, most people can go, that was Tom Morello. Whereas other guitarists had a style, but Tom Morello's is kind of quick and undeniable.
Absolutely. Yeah, you knew it was Morello. You knew it was whatever project he was a part of at the time, and most often Rage, but he did some other stuff too. And it was like, that sounds like Morello. And there wasn't a lot of people really doing what he was doing, especially in this time frame. I think a bunch of people do some funky stuff now, but in this, early 90s to mid 90s, everybody was like, whoa, who are these guys? What is this sound? How does he keep making these crazy, amazing sounds?
And I'm going to go as far as maybe ruffle some feathers here, but People of the Sun might be my favorite song on Evil Empire. As much as Bulls on Parade is a monster, People of the Sun, think about this. People of the Sun into Bulls on Parade. Bomb Track into Killing in the Name. Testify into Guerrilla Radio. Rage knew how to 1-2 punch an album. Even if you want to go Microphone Fiend and Pistol Grip Pump from Renegades, but I'm talking about kind of their original albums. The 1-2 punch is just undeniable on all of them. So bravo on the pick. And closing it out, there's only one song I could possibly put here. It closes their self-titled out. I'm sorry, I know we've leaned into the self-titled in this 10-song mix, but if I'm closing out a playlist and I think about album bookends, Bomb Track and Freedom is at the top of my list. What a way to open the chapter of an album and end the story than with Freedom. Between just the riff, which is so massive, and it's a little slower than some of the other riffs that we talked about tonight, like Know Your Enemy, where it's kind of a lot more movement going on. Freedom has got this almost blues styling to the riff that's happening, but it is just so spaced out to kind of really let the song breathe. And the peaks and valleys that this song provides encapsulates what I love about Rage Against the Machine. When the song breaks down and builds up with the boom, 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 when that kicks in at halftime with the drums, I don't know about you, but the song is slow and heavy, but I'm doing like 190 miles an hour if I'm in the car and that part comes on. And he's just screaming Freedom at the top of his lungs. Like, that is just such an epic way to close an album. And I feel like an epic way to close our playlist tonight.
Absolutely. Anger is a Gift under his breath. You're just like ready to run through a brick wall. Like, this is so good. This song is so good. And the kind of controlled chaos at the end of it with the screaming of freedom and the kind of ramp up of boom, 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 boom. That's so good, man. That's a great way to close it out. I'm not sure you could pick a better one.
Well, there you have it, mixtapers. Our ultimate Rage Against the Machine mixtape, which kicked off with Bulls on Parade from Evil Empire, Bomb Track and Wake Up from Self-Titled, The Ghost of Tom Joad from the original single and then Renegades, No Shelter from the Godzilla soundtrack, Know Your Enemy from Self-Titled, Ashes in the Fall from the Battle of LA, Killing in the Name from Self-Titled, People of the Sun from Evil Empire, and Freedom from Self-Titled. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Ah yes, the magnificent Trolley Sour Bright Crawler, also known as Trollicus brightolus. The worm's captivating neon colour makes it an easy gummy prey.
Trolley!
It's a surprisingly sour, invitingly chewy, staggeringly snackable species unlike anything else found on this planet.
Eat me!
Delicious. Visit Trolley.com to shop now.
Trolley, eat me!
Pasajeros a bordo, bienvenidos al Friskies Express. Por favor, mantengan sus patitas y colitas dentro del tren. A su derecha verán Crunch Canyon. A la izquierda, Filet Falls. Ahora pasamos al Pico Party Mix. Hoy el tour delicioso está por terminar, pero no hay problema, porque con Friskies siempre hay algo más para explorar. Ve a friskies.com para explorar más.
Now, Tony, we've been talking a lot about Rage Against the Machine, and like I said at the top of the show, Rage Against the Machine is a big part of what Podioslave is all about. Why don't you let people know a little bit about the show and where they can connect with you guys?
Yeah, we, Podioslave podcast, we've been going now for 4.5 years almost. The three friends, me, my co-host Anthony and Nate, kind of started this thing on a whim and didn't realize we'd still be doing it 220 episodes in 4 years later. So we've talked to people all across the industry. You know, Peanut from 311, Lejean from Seven Dust. We'd love to have anybody from Rage, but you know how many interviews those guys do. So
yeah.
it would be pretty cool. But yeah, we've been able to really kind of find our little. We love we're like you, Brian, where we love all music and we can pull from every little place. We've leaned in the alternative and you know heavier side of things because those people have been really accessible as far as talking to. But we've had photographers, we've had people who have run different tours in the past, like Warped Tour and Tattoo the Earth and stuff like that. So we're kind of a one-stop shop for all kinds of different things. If you're looking for something in there, you'll find something you like. Podioslave.com, at Podioslave on all the socials.
Well, Tony, I appreciate the friendship we've had through our different podcasts. I love collaborating with you guys. Hope we could do it again soon. As always, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me on My Weekly Mixtape.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. And hey, go check out back episodes of Brian's pod if you're coming from my side.
Thank you very much, dude. And likewise, check out some of the stuff. I know I've been a guest over on Podioslave a couple times. I've been fortunate enough to do that. So always a great time. Keep that music podcast community supported because we're all out here doing our thing and there's a lot of great music content out there.
So true.
Remember, you could find My Weekly Mixtape on almost all the social media haunts at My Weekly Mixtape. You can also head to myweeklymixtape.com to check out the full catalog of My Weekly Mixtape episodes. And once again, if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. There you can enjoy ad-free episodes of the show, become a future guest, and so much more. That's all for this week. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, enjoy the tunes.